it's Zara, and I'm here to talk to you about creativity. From what I've heard, some people are so lazy these days that they're relying on someone called Al to make all their stuff for them, even their own thoughts.
Well, you're almost right, my little angel. Self-expression could be a beautiful thing, but unfortunately, with the recent rise of artificial intelligence, instant gratification for talentless hacks via plagiarism software, I feel as if others are losing this gift. A lot of people think they can't make their own art, compose music, or even code their own games. But the truth is, everyone can. It just takes a lot of time and practice to get good at it, that's all. So, I'm going to stick it to the lazy individuals and show off some actual imagination by revisiting one of my favorite Nintendo DS games, WarioWare D.I.Y. A unique entry in the WarioWare series that allows players to share their own microgames, music, and comics. If Charmy wasn't spending countless hours making animations in Flipnote Studio, I was usually playing this game. I absolutely adored it back then, and I still do today. And now I get to share this joy of creative expression with all of you. You can make your own game too if you're up for it, Zara.
Sure, I'll do my best.
That's my girl. Let's make a game together. We'll start off by giving it a name and choosing its length. Don't worry, you can change these later if you need to. In order to make a microgame, we'll need to go through 3 key steps. First, draw the artwork, then compose its music, and finally input its action instructions. Let's start with the art, in which we'll need to create a background and some objects with this game's graphics editor. If it looks a bit familiar, well, that's because it was designed to be very similar to Mario Paint's one on the SNES. In fact, if you title your microgame Mario Paint, you can listen to that game's music instead of the normal one as an Easter egg.
Wait, that's where that song comes from?
Yes. As I was saying, the graphic editor has 16 colors to choose from, as well as some special patterns you could use if you don't want things to look flat. In terms of the tools you have at your disposal, you have your necessities like different sized pens, a fill tool, and a spray can. There's also ones for lines and shapes, a bunch of pre-made stamps, alphanumeric characters with 6 different fonts to choose from, and a bunch of erasers plus screen clearing effects you can mess around with. You also have the ability to create your own patterns and stamps. They could be handy in case you want to have easy access to assets you made in other future projects.
That blue-haired guy looks familiar.
Don't worry if your game's art doesn't look good from the get-go. If you want, you could just create a rough draft of everything, then come back to refine it later. You also have the ability to import a background and objects from other games that are unlocked, so if you don't mind using half-finished assets, that's an option as well. Just keep in mind you have a point and objects limit. The bigger the object is, and the more frames of animation it has, the more points it'll use, so try not to go over it. I think that's all the artsy stuff taken care of. Now let's move on to music composition. Here you can place notes, sharp or flat, to create a short melody for your microgame. You have 5 tracks to work with, and a ton of instruments to choose from, 48 in total. You can also adjust things like its volume and what side of the speakers it will play from. The 5th track is unique from the others, this being the rhythm track, where you can add drums and percussion. There's only 8 drum sets to choose from, but unlike normal tracks, you can layer up to 4 notes at once.
Mama, what's that bird icon for?
Oh, this? This is for hum mode. You can attempt to hum a melody and have it come up as notes in the track. I say attempts because it's never worked for me personally.
Aw, I was hoping I could add sing to my music.
Your future pop star career will have to wait another day, it seems.
Are you teasing me again?
Back to the topic at hand. If you have no musical talent whatsoever, you could try asking the maestro for help. Just tell him what kind of track you're looking for, and he'll give you a pre-made one based upon the choices you made. You can also tweak it a bit if you want, but personally I'd rather create something original even if it's not the best. And just like with the artwork, you also have the option to steal, import a track from another microgame or record if you want. Also, don't worry if you're making a long game. In that instance, the track actually gets played twice, so you don't have to worry about making an extra long melody, even if I wish that was an option. Now we're at the final step, creating the game's AI. Don't worry, it stands for action instructions, not, This is where we can type the message that appears at the start of the game, but more importantly, input the game's rules and functions. Don't worry, no programming knowledge is actually required. Everything is set up for the use of triggers and actions. Cause and effect in simple terms. The goal of the microgame I'm creating is to collect all the roaming batteries to get max voltage here to transform into its full power suit. I'll go through the process of creating the commands for the batteries to give you an idea how action instructions work. First, we choose what art it starts in, and decide on where our object is going to be when the game starts. Point always makes it start in a certain place, and area will randomize its location in a selected area. I'm going to use the latter, as it'll give our microgame some variety every time you play it. Next, we want the battery to roam the play area when the game starts, so we'll use a time trigger at the very start of the game, and create a movement action to let it roam the area. Let's use the reflect roam style, and set it to a slow speed. We don't want them moving too fast, otherwise it'll be next to impossible to catch. Finally, we'll make them be able to be collected, so we'll need a trigger for when the object is tapped, and checking whether its switch is off so it can't be tapped twice. Then we'll create actions for the battery to change to its collected art, it moving towards max, and turning its switch on.
Switch? Like the Nintendo Switch?
No. This is the kind of switch that can be turned on and off.
But Nintendo Switch can be powered on and off too.
Oh jeez. It's more like a light switch.
So, the Switch Lite?
Oh, stop asking questions and let me explain. You see, every object has its own switch that can be turned on or off, and you can use these to create variables that allow objects to interact with each other and to set the win conditions for your game. Oh, and here's a handy trick. If you copy an object to the graphics section and you've already made action instructions for it, you have the option to copy those over too. Now I can save myself time by not having to give the other 3 batteries the same instructions manually. Again, the goal of the game I'm making is that all the batteries need to be collected. So we'll need to create a win condition that checks if all the battery switches are turned on to make the game winnable. Oh, and be careful not to create multiple win conditions if you want all of a certain thing to be interacted with. Otherwise you'll end up with a situation where any of them could be tapped to win, and that would make things unintentionally easy. Now that the microgame is complete, all we need to do now is ship it. You can choose the design of its cartridge, give it a short description, then place it somewhere on one of your DIY shelves. With all the explanations I gave, I hope this gives you an idea on how microgames are created here. It might seem confusing at first, but this game is so user-friendly, even young children can make them. Speaking of which, what kind of microgame did you make, Zara?
I made one about topping a slice of cake with a strawberry. I love strawberry shortcakes.
Oh, that's very cute, Zara. But remember, all microgames here have to be touchscreen based, probably to keep things simple. And while that does sound restrictive at first, limitation breeds creativity, so don't let that discourage you. If you're still lost in how microgame creation works after my explanations, don't worry! The game offers a few tutorials in which you make free sample microgames, hosted by Penny and Wario that have some pretty funny dialogue I'm willing to admit. As well as this assembly dojo, which shows you a sample microgame and tells you to fill in the blanks of its action instructions to finish it. They're pretty fun, plus test your knowledge on how certain actions are performed when making the script for a microgame. And if you're in an artsy mood, there's a job center where you can provide the artwork for microgames Wario made. I might have put a little more effort into some of these sprites than was necessary, but Wario deserves the best, right? I also briefly want to mention the record maker and comic maker. The record maker is just like making a track for a microgame, only this allows you to make full-length songs. The only differences here being that you can adjust the tempo, give the track a shuffle beat, and there's no maestro to assist you this time. But you can import phrases from other microgames and records if you'd like. The comic maker allows you to make 4-page comics. They can only be drawn in black and white though. And again, don't worry if you're not very good at drawing, because there are a bunch of stamps you can use if you need them. Plus you can still make your own patterns and stamps. Importing panels from other comics is also possible. Lastly, even if you're not the creative type at all, don't fret, there's still fun to be had in experiencing other people's creations. The D.I.Y shop has pre-made games, records and comics from Diamond Studios you can check out, either for fun or inspiration for future projects of your own. In fact, if you're curious and want to know how certain microgames function, you also have the ability to look inside ones that are unlocked and learn how they were put together through reverse engineering.
What's reverse engineering?
Oh, it's when you take something apart to learn how it works.
People break stuff in order to learn more about them?
Usually only temporarily, but yes. I also want to briefly mention the WarioWare title, WarioWare D.I.Y Showcase. This was a supplementary game that allowed you to play Microgames to the Wii using the pointer instead of the touchscreen. But you could only download and play Microgames here, not make them. I never bought it back in the day, the base game was fine enough for me. And you can't even get it anymore since the Wii Shop channel was closed in 2019. You could probably still get it by selling the 7 Cs though. And I think I've covered just about everything on WarioWare D.I.Y. While this title's mileage mostly depends on how much you're willing to create and experience the things other people made with it, for an imaginative individual myself, it's an absolute wonder. I mean, if it wasn't for this game and Flipno Studio, I might not be the artist I am today, and for that, I have a copious amount of respect for it. And while I do wish there was more you could do with the game, at the same time, I understand they probably want to keep things basic to not overcomplicate the creative process of everything. If anything, it makes the more technically and graphically impressive microgames definitely stand out from the rest. And sure, some of the microgames you saw online were, how do I put this without sounding condescending? Amateurish, and don't get me started on the naughty ones. I won't go into detail, there's a child present. But even then, the poorly made stuff is still entertaining in an endearing way, and I'd easily play these over any game coded with ChatGPT. Although the online servers for the game are long dead now, the community has still kept the game alive with fan-made websites, archives of all the microgames that were uploaded online, and homebrew applications to import and export creations. So if this almost 17-year-old game-making game interests you at all, check it out and try making some stuff with it yourself. Just try not to make anything overly difficult or hard to understand. Remember, fun always comes first.
Goodbye!